27-game winning streak last night without Derrick Rose. With 12 games left before the playoffs, Rose said on Wednesday that he's unsure if he will return this season. So we ask this, does this win over the Heat put more pressure on Rose to return? We welcome back in Jamel Hill. How are you?
Yes, okay, I'm moving up.
You are, even though you're mean to my Lakers. Stephen A. Smith, I'll give you the question. Does this put more pressure on Rose to return after last night?
In my humble opinion, I think the answer is absolutely, positively yes. I've spoken to several players that are on the Bulls roster over the last few hours, particularly immediately after last night's game. They say that Derrick Rose is looking very, very good in practice, that they believe he's ready to go, but obviously he has to believe he's ready to go. But I think when you look at last night's game, you take the comments that was made by his brother months ago about this team not being good enough or whatever the case may be. Now you look at this team last night. Luol Deng playing the way that he played. Carlos Boozer playing the way that he plays. Doing it without a Joakim Noah, who only adds in terms of defense, rebounding, block shots, etc. You look at Bellinelli. You look at Rip Hamilton and their ability to hit perimeter shots. You look at the infusion of energy that Nate Robinson provides you. You look at Taj Gibson and his athleticism. You look at this kid Butler and what he's able to bring to the play. Al out a dunk over Chris Bosh last night. All of this other stuff. To me, the only thing that's missing is Derrick Rose. That doesn't mean you beat Miami. You can only put 5 dudes on the floor at a time. But in the end, what it comes down to is there is no disputing that if Derrick Rose, even at 75 or 80%, were to come back, that the Bulls could easily challenge the Miami Heat for the Eastern Conference crown. There's just no way to deny that. And knowing that a championship, a potential championship, is at stake, and everybody's looking at you and they're saying physically, this is what you can do. It's not something that can be ignored. Now, they haven't been able to practice because they've had so many games, and some of the game situations, Skip Jamel, that he would obviously face, they haven't been able to practice against, which contributes to his level of discomfort. But it is something that has heightened the level of awareness of his absence, and more importantly, him just sitting back, leaning off of his brother's comments that the team is not necessarily good enough. That is clearly a misnomer now. We look at this team. And if Derrick Rose has got anything for you, with the Joakim Noah, Bellinelli, or Richard Hamilton and those boys in the lineup, combined with the dudes we saw last night, there is no doubt they can challenge the Miami Heat for the Eastern Conference crown. And that, to me, puts more pressure on Derrick Rose to return.
Are you putting more pressure on him to return? Do you think he should return?
I'm not putting any pressure on him, because my attitude is if you don't believe that you can go, you don't believe that you can go. And I have to respect that this kid is humble. He's as humble as they come. He's as decent as they come. He doesn't take shortcuts, and I'm not going to accuse him of doing something like that now. I'm just saying they're a championship contender with him on the floor. They could win it. That's what I'm saying.
What do you think, Jamel?
I think Stephen A. is 1,000% right. And the more that you hear Derrick Rose talk about where his health status is, the more it almost sounds like he's stalling. Now, I certainly believe that there's a gigantic mental hurdle that he has to overcome. But I think he's fooling himself if he believes that he's just going to wake up one day and say, I'm mentally over this. You can only get over it by playing through. He's the franchise guy. He is the face of that team. And I think his guys are looking at him and saying, hey, man, we're ready. We want you to come back. And the longer that he stays away, the more that they feel like he's purposely allowing them to lose an opportunity. His brother didn't do him any favors. When he said that he didn't think that the Bulls were building adequately around him, that automatically sent a message to his teammates. And I know Derrick Rose, he tried to sort of temper those comments that his brother made, but I don't think it really helped, particularly since he isn't back yet. Certainly last night, if you're a Bulls fan and you saw how well they played Miami, how much passion they exhibited on the floor, you can't help but think to yourself, what would this team look like if Derrick Rose came back for the playoffs and gave the Chicago Bulls an honest chance of really going at Miami, because right now it doesn't look like the Heat really have a legitimate challenger. Yes, Indiana, they played well, but Miami seems to be on such a roll, and over the last couple seasons, the Bulls have just been kind of right there waiting to overtake this team. And I just think that Derrick Rose, if he wants to show his guys that he's with them, that he supports them, that he's their leader, he's got to come back and play in the playoffs.
Jamel, are you suggesting that Derrick Rose has developed some kind of phobia about coming back to play? I think he's gotten gun-shy somehow?
I think mentally, and it's expected. I mean, certainly all of our impressions of how quickly you come back from an injury like this have been a little bit corrupted by Adrian Peterson and his quick comeback, and even some of the comments that Dr. James Andrews has made about RG3 being Superman. Yeah, of course, it's colored our perception of how difficult it is to fight back from such a major surgery. But at the same time, you see, every time you hear Derrick Rose, who's never been through something like this before, it seems to all be in his head. He's been physically cleared to play for a while now. All you hear him talk about is how this is mentally, what kind of impact this has had on him in that particular way. I just think he needs to fight through it, because at the very least, I think his teammates deserve for him to get back on the floor, even if it's in limited time, to show them, hey, I'm with you guys.
I disagree with that. I do agree with the question and the premise that this does put a little more pressure on Derrick from Bulls Nation. Okay, Derrick, there it is. We got this now. You'll be the catalyst. We can make a playoff run. I agree it adds a little more pressure. I don't think this kid cares about it one bit. Here's the problem with this question. None of us, not Jamel, not Stephen A., not Carrie, certainly not I, can know what he feels like on that knee. Just because the doctors say, yeah, we think you're good to go, it just doesn't mean a thing to me, because we can't know. Again, is he seeing or feeling things in his head as opposed to what's really happening in his knee? I don't know. It's just too hard to know, because none of us know what his pain threshold is. He is practicing at a pretty high level, although Chris Broussard said last night, to Stephen A.'s point, that he's a little skeptical about coming back because they've been so decimated, so injury-ridden, that they can't push him around enough in practice to get him ready for what he will encounter in games with the physical play. But again, why would he want physical play in practice if he's not even sure he can play in a game? That doesn't ring true to me. But in the end, I don't know. Clearly, this is a tough kid who's saying, my knee's not right yet. I'm not Derrick Rose yet.
But Skip, here's the problem that I have with your assertions. It's like nobody is saying, Derrick Rose, forget about your health. Go play no matter what, no matter how you're feeling. What we're saying is,